They built giants to touch the sky, and those giants watched them starve. An entire civilization, isolated in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, believed they were chosen, untouchable, superior. They carved nearly 1,000 massive stone statues called moai, each one heavier than a modern tank. But while their eyes stared proudly at the horizon, their forests disappeared, their soil died, their canoes vanished, and when the last tree fell, so did their future. If you want to understand how pride quietly destroys civilizations, past and present, subscribe now, because what happened on this island is not ancient history. It's a warning. Warning 10. The island that thought it was untouchable. Core event. Easter Island, Rapa Nui collapse. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, more than 2,000 miles from the nearest continent, lies Easter Island, known to its people as Rapa Nui. When Polynesian settlers arrived around 1200 CE, they found paradise. Dense palm forests, rich soil, birds everywhere, abundant fish, a self-contained world. Isolation gave them something powerful: identity. They were alone, unique, sacred, and then they began building monuments. The moai, towering stone ancestors, were carved from volcanic rock at Rano Raraku Quarry. Some stood over 30 feet tall. Some weighed over 80 tons. Each clan competed to build bigger, taller, more impressive statues. Why? Prestige, honor, spiritual power. The bigger your statue, the greater your mana, your divine authority. But here's the problem. To move these giants across the island, they needed ropes. Ropes required fiber. Fiber required trees. Massive numbers of trees. Slowly, silently, the forests began disappearing. At first, no one noticed. The island was vast enough. The statues were glorious. Prestige felt more urgent than sustainability. Clans didn't want to fall behind. No one wanted to be the first to stop building. And so they kept cutting. Tree by tree, year by year, until there were none left. Without trees, they couldn't build canoes. Without canoes, they couldn't fish far offshore. Without forests, soil eroded. Without soil, crops failed. Food shortages began. Competition turned violent. Statues were toppled. Civil war erupted. By the time Europeans arrived in 1722, they found a shattered society, far smaller than its peak population. The giants still stood, but the people who built them were starving. Modern parallel. Mega projects today consume forests, rivers, minerals, and debt. Nations compete to build the tallest tower, the largest dam, the most expensive stadium. Prestige over sustainability. Growth over balance. The psychology is identical. What if our moai aren't made of stone, but concrete, steel, carbon? Future question. If the last forest on Earth began disappearing, would we stop building, or would we compete to build the biggest monument before it's gone? Warning 9. When competition becomes suicide. Core event. Clan rivalry escalation on Rapa Nui. It wasn't just statues. It was status warfare. Each clan on Easter Island tried to outdo the other. Bigger platforms. More statues. Taller figures. Prestige projects become dangerous when identity is tied to visibility. If your rival builds one statue, you build two. If they build 10, you build 20. There was no central environmental policy. No pause button. Just escalating pride. And pride doesn't negotiate. As forests vanished, leaders could have declared a moratorium. They didn't. Because stopping meant weakness. Weakness meant loss of honor. Loss of honor meant loss of power. The system incentivized destruction. By the time famine began, it was too late. Modern parallel. Corporate arms races. Military buildup. Space tourism billionaires. Countries building megacities in deserts while water tables drop. Nobody wants to be the first to scale back. Because scaling back looks like defeat. But what if restraint is the only real strength? Future question. Will global competition over technology and resources push humanity into the same trap? Or will someone dare to stop first? Warning 8. The illusion of infinite resources. Core event. Deforestation and ecological blindness. The people of Rapa Nui didn't wake up one day to an empty island. Collapse was gradual, subtle. Each year, there were slightly fewer trees. Slightly less yield. Slightly harder fishing trips. Human beings adapt to slow decline. We normalize it. Things are still fine. Next season will be better. That psychological blindness is deadly. When the last palm tree fell, it wasn't dramatic. It was inevitable. And it was irreversible. Modern parallel. Groundwater depletion. Ocean overfishing. Climate warming measured in decimals. We don't panic because change feels incremental. But ecosystems have tipping points. And when they flip, they don't flip back. Future question. How many invisible thresholds have we already crossed? And will we recognize the final one in time? Warning 7. When symbols replace survival. Core event. Spiritual authority over practical reality. The Moai represented ancestors. They were sacred. Stopping construction might have felt like dishonoring tradition. So even as food grew scarce, resources continued flowing to ritual projects. Symbols became more important than survival. Belief over biology. This happens when identity fuses with ideology. Rational discussion becomes taboo. Environmental warnings become heresy. And systems collapse while leaders defend tradition. Modern parallel. When political identity overrides scientific evidence. When environmental warnings are dismissed because they threaten ideology. When leaders protect image over infrastructure. The island didn't lack intelligence. It lacked adaptability. Future question. Are we protecting traditions, or protecting our future? Warning 6. Isolation is arrogance. Core event. Geographic isolation of Rapa Nui. Isolation gave Rapa Nui security. No enemies. No outside interference. But isolation also created overconfidence. They believed their world was self-sustaining. They had no idea how fragile it truly was. No backup forests. No external trade. No escape. When collapse came, there was nowhere to go. Modern parallel. Nations believing they're too powerful to fail. Economies believing they're too big to collapse. Technology believing it can always innovate its way out. Isolation. Geographic or ideological. breeds blind spots. Future question: if our global system fractured tomorrow, would we survive independently, or discover we were never as secure as we thought? Warning 5. Violence after depletion. Core event: internal conflict and statue toppling. Once food shortages intensified, unity shattered. Clans began fighting. Moai were deliberately toppled. Symbols of pride became targets of rage. When resources shrink, cooperation dissolves. Scarcity amplifies division. The island's final centuries were marked by instability. Pride built the statues. Desperation destroyed them. Modern parallel: water conflicts, food riots, political polarization in economic downturns. When systems strain, blame replaces responsibility. Future question: if global shortages intensify, will nations cooperate, or will monuments fall? Warning 4. The point of no return. Core event: loss of canoe building trees. When trees disappeared, canoe building stopped. That meant no deep-sea fishing. Protein sources collapsed. Even if they wanted to reverse course, they couldn't. The infrastructure of recovery was gone. Some collapses become permanent because the tools to fix them are destroyed during the rise. Modern parallel: when biodiversity disappears, when supply chains become hyper-fragile, when rare minerals essential for technology are exhausted, are we dismantling our own recovery tools? Future question: what happens if the systems that support modern life fail faster than we can rebuild them? Warning 3. Prestige projects over basic needs. Core event: resource allocation priorities. Imagine allocating thousands of labor hours to statues, while crops fail. That's what happened. Because prestige projects feel meaningful, basic maintenance feels boring. Civilizations don't collapse from lack of greatness. They collapse from neglected fundamentals. Modern parallel: neglecting infrastructure while funding image-building ventures. Underfunding public health while funding spectacle. Growth metrics replacing resilience metrics. Future question: are we strengthening foundations, or polishing monuments? Warning 2. Cultural momentum against reality. Core event: tradition continuing despite crisis. Even as environmental signals worsened, construction traditions continued. Momentum is powerful. Systems resist change. By the time change feels urgent, culture makes it difficult. The island didn't lack warning signs. It lacked willingness to break tradition. Modern parallel: fossil fuel dependency despite climate data. Economic models based on endless growth. Consumption habits resistant to reform. Future question: what traditions will we refuse to abandon until it's too late? Warning 1. The silent collapse. Core event: gradual decline before European arrival. When Europeans first saw Easter Island in 1722, they saw statues. They didn't see the centuries of slow collapse. Collapse rarely looks dramatic in real time. It looks normal. Until it isn't. The lesson of Rapa Nui isn't that humans are doomed. It's that pride plus competition plus ecological blindness equals disaster. Prestige without sustainability destroys civilizations. Final modern mirror. Mega cities expanding into fragile ecosystems. Resource extraction accelerating. Climate tipping points approaching. Are we building modern Moai while cutting our last forests? If this warning shook you, good. Because that discomfort is awareness. Subscribe to Top 10 Untold now. Because every episode is a mirror. Not just of history, but of us. And ask yourself tonight, what statues are we building, while our forests disappear?